We hear plenty of politicians talking about giving choice to parents, but what about the pupils? At this school, they get the chance to pursue an education that suits them, even if it takes them beyond the bounds of the curriculum, the timetable and the school building. It means pupils of all abilities can mix the academic with the expressive and with the vocational, and find themselves learning all kinds of skills, including one or two most of us are glad we haven't got. And it's led to close links being built with nearby colleges and local businesses, to the extent that classes are taken every week by a further education lecturer and a manager from industry.
I still think in terms of a comprehensive school needing a comprehensive curriculum, and therefore everybody talks about valuing everyone's education equally, but I've always believed that it's not enough to say that, you've actually got to do something about it.
50% of the young people perhaps are not well served by the traditional curriculum. Now arguably 50% of the resource should be directed to their curriculum needs. Now producing that sort of shift is a big cultural change.
This is Grove School in Market Drayton, a town quietly tucked away in North Shropshire. Once famous for educating Clive of India, it's now more closely associated with producing yoghurt. You get the feeling that nothing much changes in this deeply rural, pleasantly peaceful and usually bypassed community. Nothing, that is, apart from education. Over the last 8 years, teaching has been transformed by the introduction of a work-based curriculum. It all started following the arrival of head teacher Richard Arrowsmith, who brought fresh inspiration.
I've always had this vision that there must be a way of having a kind of permanently flexible timetable, so that a child at any point could do any number of subjects, depending on what they were opting into, from a very minimum 4 or 5 GCSEs plus NVQ plus work key skills plus work placement, or right through to the far end, because we also have that running in the school. People can take 10, 11, 12, even 13 GCSEs if they're at that level of ability that will cope with that. And so we have, over time, developed this completely flexible curriculum, which is really quite fun.
At Grove School, a specialist language college, education comes à la carte. Pupils can currently choose from a wide menu of courses and MVQs. The policy is to serve up what's requested or required, although there are limits in a market town without its own further education college. Vocational Director Simon Stoneley is the person in charge of making it happen.
It is very much of a personalised learning curriculum, in that the students do things that are very different from other students, and no two sets of activities are really the same. So you do need to keep a very careful track on at what level, what stage each student is at, how they're progressing with their course.
Grove School has proved that introducing a broad range of vocational education does not turn your school into something regarded as a secondary modern. The school points to a former pupil who gained a Part 1 intermediate GNVQ in tourism, a full intermediate DMVQ in retail, an MVQ level 2 in customer service, plus 11 GCSEs. This sixth former made do with an MVQ level 2 in horse management and 12 GCSEs.
I did most of my portfolio in my own time and everything, and then all my practical work went into when I came down for my 4 hours after school. The school allowed me to take it outside of my school time, else I would have probably chosen GCSEs over the vocational subject.
The riding school is owned by Rachel Bailey, who's also an NVQ assessor.
I've been here for 4 years, and I got in touch with the school when I first moved here 4 years ago. I thought it might be a way that if we were training pupils, that when they came to school leaving age, it would help me try and find local workers.
Out of 35 pupils currently taking MVQs, 5 are here on the horse management course.
What are you doing here, or shouldn't I ask?
It's just to put on it to lubricate it.
To lubricate what?
The thermometer.
Where are you going to stick that?
Up there.
So why did you choose to do this MVQ?
Because I like horses and I want to do something with horses when I'm older.
Like what?
I would like to own a stud.
Grove's push to provide more vocational courses came at the same time as funding became available from the Shropshire Learning and Skills Council.
The Grove has got an interesting set of performance. It's an interesting community in Market Drayton.
Which way?
Well, it's got both high-achieving young people and young people with more challenges, and the traditional curriculum is not best suited to a significant number of the learners' needs.
What's everybody see?
This key skills lesson is also the result of recognising and meeting the demands of pupils who ask for an alternative to GCSEs. The school didn't have a key skills teacher, so brought in Amanda Bedin from Telford College, with extra money from the Learning and Skills Council.
We look at the key skills and their MVQs, and what we try and do is we marry them up together. So rather than it being two separate qualifications, they're actually woven in together. We've covered perception today. In June, they're actually going into their workplace, so they need to be aware of how they come across, how others see them. How they see themselves might not be how they come across. It's a different style of teaching, it's a different way of teaching. I've got a very different relationship with the children than the teachers here. The layout of the tables are different. They call me Amanda, and then if they disrespect that, then it goes to Miss Bedin.
It's all part of work-related learning. If these young people go onto an apprenticeship programme, they'll already have credited key skills which will contribute to their apprenticeship programme before they start at 16. I think the key skills is a particular focus which is quite unique to the Grove, and particularly the way that we've delivered it with a college and using college tutorial support.
Another course that reflects the nature of the area is gamekeeping, which has given this pupil a new direction and purpose.
I just didn't get on in the lessons, I just didn't like it. It was boring. And
Was there any subject which you hated more than most?
history and RE, because I think it's pointless learning it. I'm not really going to use it.
Is he a good learner, Michael?
Yes, very quick. Very quick, good learner at all, you know. Picks a job up very quickly. You can give him one task to do and he always does this to his topmost ability, like. Get very little trouble with him as far as that goes.
So if he's interested, he can learn?
Yeah, if he's interested, he's got to be interested. And he keeps his interest. He got an interest in this job, so that's a good thing. Like, if he's not interested in a job, the only one he didn't like was pulling ragwort, but nobody likes that anyway. You can generally tell the first 2 or 3 days, well, the first day, 2 days, you can generally tell who's going to be a decent one and who's not, like. Well, the most telltale signs is the arrogance with them. You know, if they got a lot of arrogance about them, and you can't get over it with them, then you know you're on a loser with them. It's a difficult life. It's a very demanding life for a young boy. You want to go out shooting, you want to do this and you want to do that, and then you find out when it used to be 17 or 18 what girls are like, but it's 15 or 16 now, or 14 and 15. And once they find out what girls are like and going out for a drink in the night, then you know they aren't going to get up at 4:30 the following morning, like.
The NVQ in gamekeeping is run by Walford Agricultural College. Most of the other courses are provided through FE colleges at Shrewsbury and Telford, all about an hour away on the bus. Grove did develop its own vehicle maintenance course, but soon realised it was being too ambitious.
We started to develop some resources in school, but it's very difficult to find the space and actually to finance some of the resources and facilities that you need to be able to do the activities that are required for students to complete the course. You know, we're talking about ramps and lifting gear that in a school is just not practical.
The vehicle courses have been more successful than most, resulting in a number of pupils finding full-time work in town, including Richard Evans, who gained an NVQ Level 3. Jack, who's working on NVQ Level 1, hopes to follow in his footsteps.
Do you enjoy school?
Yeah, it's okay, yeah. I enjoy it.
Where'd you rather be, in the classroom or underneath this car?
Underneath this car.
How's he doing, John? All right, very good, yes. Where did you learn how to be a mechanic?
Well, where? A long time ago. I'm coming up to retirement age, so...
How did you learn?
I learnt the same way, in a garage.
This garage currently takes 2 placements each year.
It does cause problems. It depends on the calibre of the person. It depends on how much they want to impress on the management and obviously impress the people that they're working with. But it's a very mature environment, and they are still children at the end of the day, and it does bring them on. It does bring the sort of adult out in them because they're working in an adult environment.
There's no shortage of businesses willing to get involved, but But the town's largest employer goes one step further and helps teach the applied GCSE in ICT. Pupils visit the factory and a company manager sees them in the classroom.
I think it's about just maintaining that link and sort of trying to develop a sort of real-life understanding of what industry is like, you know, warts and all. We are a big employer in the area, and we're very closely linked in with the Market Drayton area as well. So, you know, it's a two-way sort of partnership thing, you know, we both rely on each other, really.
So you're looking for the next generation of yoghurt makers?
Potentially, yes. Not just yoghurt makers, but, you know, all sorts of people, ultimately.
Oh, it's fantastic because you can actually see everything rather than reading it out of a book.
Some people learn visually, some people learn auditory, and it helps you kind of like realise how all the things is, instead of doing a case study in a book.
They understand more what they're talking about, so if you ask your teacher, they're not quite sure on what it's about, but when they're there and they're doing it as their job, then you know what the real answer is and stuff.
You're not saying your teachers don't know what they're talking about?
No.
It needs careful planning to make sure that we've manageable groups coming into site at any one time. The last thing, you know, our sort of health and safety and production people was sort of, you know, snakes of young people sort of strolling around the factory. We had to be very careful about that.
If the timetable doesn't allow pupils to pursue their preferred subjects and a vocational course, then there's what's called the third session, extra lessons at the end of the day. The lessons, like this drama class, are also available to pupils who haven't got time for expressive subjects during the day.
With the third session, we do say to staff that they can take time off in lieu. We come to an arrangement over that in some cases, and it isn't only timetable time, it can be a block of time. We deal with that in individual cases, and we find that works out fine. People will ask for one thing or another, or sometimes nothing at all. And it just varies. It's just part of the flexible arrangements.
Do some of them get extra money?
No.
No?
No.
And there's no shortage of volunteers?
No. I mean, staff like working with children who like to be with them.
Grove's vocational courses are overseen by the Work-Related Curriculum Group.
I'm wondering, Simon, I know it's the middle of the year, but there must be some way in which we can access a placement which might have the chance of an NVQ with it. Since we've got about 15 months left, he could at least get some units. To get to where we are today from where we were hasn't actually been very difficult, in all honesty, because each year it's just gone up another notch and we've added a little bit. But the starting point is having staff willing to be trained up to, because to go back 8 years, it was all GNVQs and NVQs, and in those days you had special qualifications, D32, D33, and you had to have your staff ready to put themselves forward to work in that way. Once you got over that hurdle, then each year you just added a bit more, and the curriculum space was found for another option, and it really wasn't all that difficult.
The biggest problem is funding, and it could soon get bigger. The Learning and Skills Council money may be withdrawn and the school will have to find the cash, around £45,000.
I think costs are coming down a little as time goes by and you get used to the way things work. But in general, there's no doubt it has been an expensive programme, but, you know, what's a budget for?